Hello, these are the top 10 stockpile secrets that will make your stockpiling easier so you can be prepared and not scared. Number one is water. Guys, if you don't have water, none of this is going to do you any good at all. So start at the bottom and work your way up. What does that mean? Make sure you have bleach or you have a pan and a way to start water so that you can boil your water. That's one way to sterilize it. If you need to filter your water, let's say you get it out of a pond or a creek or a mud puddle, then pantyhose, coffee filters, t-shirts, anything like that will help filter out the big chunks before you boil it or bleach it. That will help. Get something like a water purification straw. That way, at least you have some water filtration if you can't build a fire or you don't have your bleach. The other thing is water purification tablets. You can drop one in your water so that if you're not at home and you need to get water, you can put one of those in some water and it will purify it for you. Also, make sure you have bottles of water sitting around the house. Just refill old soda bottles, tea bottles, juice bottles. I don't like milk jugs as well. They break down a lot easier than the other ones. Those are the kind of bottles that you can rinse out, refill, and use them to store. That's what Mom and I do. You don't have to go out and buy bottles of water. I also, every 6 months, rotate out my bottled water. If you want, you can put 1 drop of bleach in there just to make sure everything's sterilized, but I've never had an issue with water when I rotate it every 6 months. Then the next best thing is your own DIY Berkey. It's a water filtration where you can filter 5 gallons of water at a time with 5-gallon buckets and filters. We have our own DIY video that we did on that. The link is down in the description once again. Super easy. It cost me $40 to do it a couple of years ago. It's probably $60, $70 to do it now. Super cheap, way cheaper than an expensive $300, $400 Berkey. Really, there's no need to buy any of those. You can just do your own DIY one at home. We actually used it when we moved into this house because we had no water, so I know it actually works. And we had really black water when we moved in here. It was pretty bad, but our DIY filter removed it all and we were able to drink it and go on with life, and it works great. We will have links for all of these in the description below, guys, so you can go see the ones that I have personally and that I have used. The next tip is it does not have to be expensive. Stop thinking you have to buy expensive military type rations, 25 years food storage. Do not make it expensive. It doesn't have to be. You can just start with beans and rice and get you some canned tuna, canned chicken, those types of things. Start off with just sustaining life, ramen noodles. It's okay to sustain life with ramen noodles and rice. It really is. Now, you're not going to want to do that long term, but if you really had to, you could. But start with the very minimum and then start adding to and working your way up. So it doesn't have to be super expensive. You don't have to go spend $1,000 to get your stockpile set up right away. The next tip is to stop thinking it's super hard to stockpile. It's not. I know you guys see people like us with our food storage. I did that video and people either loved it or hate it. That video will be in the description also, so you can see what my stockpile looks like. But guys, yeah, I did this over 6 months. Before, when things weren't quite so crazy, I did it over like 3 or 4 years. So don't think it has to be super hard. Start with 5 foods that you eat all the time. Rice, beans, canned chicken, canned tuna, a couple of spices. Just get started with those things so that you at least have something on hand. Stop making it more difficult than it needs to be. You can just start with 5 packages of ramen a day to sustain your life. So if you eat 5 packages of ramen, that's about 2,000 calories. Get yourself 50 packages of ramen. That's $12.50 for 10 days worth of food and calories. I know it's not the most nutritious. It's just wheat and oil and salt basically, but it will keep you alive for 10 days. Just start with something easy, like getting a 10-day supply of ramen on hand, and then each week keep adding to it. The next tip is use your stockpile. I know I keep preaching on this over and over again, but you guys would be shocked at the number of people who say, what am I supposed to do with my stockpile? You buy foods that you will eat, and you eat them on a regular basis. Just think of it as your own grocery store at home. That way you don't have to go to the grocery store so much. Then you just eat out of your rotation and then rotate your foods so that you're not letting food go to waste by letting it expire or get old or rancid. Use your stockpile. The next tip is think about trading for your stockpile. So what does that mean? Well, maybe somebody has an apple tree. You can either make frozen or canned applesauce. Did you know you can freeze applesauce? That's how I do it. I just put it in zip top bags and stack it up in my freezer, and I have frozen applesauce all winter long. It's yummy. You can make dried apples. You can dehydrate them and make dried apples. You can make fruit leather out of them. So somebody has apples. Say you found a good deal on some other kind of canned good. Let's say they had, I don't know what, beans marked down for $1 a can because they were getting ready to swap out labels or something. That happens all the time. Ask if you can swap. Maybe they would be happy to swap with you. Me, I'm a soap maker. I have soap coming out the wazoo. I have boxes and boxes of super high quality homemade goat milk soap. I'm not kidding. I probably have 300 or 400 pounds of it. And so I would trade that with someone who could use that, and I could use whatever product they have. Apples, blackberries, raspberries, whatever they might have, or they're able to buy that I'm not able to buy. That way you can swap for your stockpiles and get items that you need, and they have items they need. The next thing is just ask, and ask if it's free. Back to the apples again. Right now here in Wyoming, apples are all coming on the tree. Ask if you can just have them. Most people who are done with their apple trees hate to see the fruit go to waste, so they're happy to have you come pick their apples. I'm getting ready to post on a Facebook group that we have here in my town where you can swap stuff, and I'm going to ask if anybody has apples that I can go pick. The other thing is look for free sources. There's an empty office building not far from where I live. There's several apple trees right there on the property. Nobody's there, nobody's doing anything. I'm just going to go pick those apples when they're falling on the ground. I'm just going to go pick those apples. Ask if you can, but I mean, a lot of times you'll find them like in public right-of-ways, that type of thing. One year in Colorado, there was a university test type garden thing. They were just growing the trees. They didn't even want the apples, and they just let them all fall to the ground and rot. So I would take boxes and go fill them up, and then I would bring them home and make applesauce. So ask if there's things that you have for free. Sometimes people are moving. Don't be afraid to take someone else's food, especially when it's sealed in cans and boxes. And if it's someone you know, I would even take their refrigerator food. I mean, you can't really contaminate mustard, or, I mean, I guess you could maybe mayonnaise, but like mustard and ketchup, those kinds of things, Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce. If it was a neighbor that I knew, I would take their soy sauce and Worcestershire sauce and I would use it then for myself instead of having them throw it away. That's such a huge waste. Ask if there's free food, different places that you can get, schools, potlucks, those kind of thing. Where can you get free food to build up your stockpile? And you might be, Tara, what do you mean a potluck? Well, sometimes people bring veggie trays and then they don't want to take them home. Well, you take it home and dehydrate those vegetables, and you've got dehydrated vegetables for your stockpile. They're super cheap. Think outside the box. So let's say you can't get cornmeal. Can you get mesa and make corn tortillas instead? Think, what could I use instead of a product that I can't find? If I can't find flour, could I use almond flour? Could I use cornmeal? Could I use millet flour? Think outside the box when you're doing your stockpile. You don't necessarily have to have cornbread. You could have corn tortillas, and that would be just fine. So you might be able to find mesa much easier than you could cornmeal. So be willing to think outside the box and use different products. Next, don't kill yourself stockpiling. Stockpile burnout is a real thing. We even did a video on it. Let me tell you, you can get overwhelmed doing this. That's why I'm like, start with the basics, keep working your way up. At the moment, yes, prices are up, inflation is up, groceries are up probably 15 to 20% from what I've seen. Some groceries are up 50%, but that still is extremely reasonable. Most Americans, sorry guys, I hate to tell you, but you're still eating out way more than the cost of groceries have gone up. So really, it's not an excuse. Inflation has not gone up that badly yet that it's something like hyperinflation. And so most people can still afford groceries quite easily if they really wanted to. So don't stress yourself out thinking you have to do it all today. Now, if they made an announcement or something, yeah, I might go to the grocery store and stock up. But, you know, we're not there at this moment. So just keep doing a little bit each time you go to the grocery store so you're not overwhelming yourself. Don't make it complicated. You don't need solar ovens. You don't need special rocket stoves. You don't need a lot of this fancy schmancy prepper stuff. As long as you have a way to boil water with some sort of fire, you should be fairly good. So just start there. Is there a fire pit that you could find at a garage sale, a yard sale, and use that with a grate to boil some water? Make sure you have some wood on hand, some newspaper and matches. But don't make it complicated thinking you have to buy things like solar ovens and generators and all these big things to keep you prepped in case of emergency. Those things are nice, but those are at the end of the list instead of at the beginning. You just have to get started with the small stuff first. Before we get to the next one, we have a free offer for you. Our Dining on a Dime Volume 2. This is the first time we've ever offered it, guys. Volume 2 ebook for free. Use the coupon code DINING2. The link is in the description below. Yes, the link works. If you're being charged, you did not put the coupon code incorrectly at the very end. You have to go clear through the whole end. At the very end of the checkout is where it asks for the code. Put it in at the end right before you place your order. But it does work. And if you are being charged, you did not put your coupon code in. So make sure you put your coupon in. The link is in the description below. Our Dining on a Dime Volume 2 ebook. It's our gift from us to you. The next thing is expiration dates are not set in stone. Do not think that you have to eat your food by the expiration date. We have a whole video on this, but just remember that most foods will go a significant amount of time past the expiration date. Most grains, cereals, flour, cornmeal, those types of things will go 18 months to 2 years past the expiration date, which is actually a best buy date, not an expiration date. Canned goods can go 5, 10, 15 years. Meats, I would say 5 to 8 years. Acidic canned foods like tomatoes and pineapples, I would go 2 to 3 years. Vegetables, fruits, those can go 8 to 10 years past, even 15 years past the expiration date. If you're getting things like salad dressings that are dairy based and not just oil and vinegar, those I would not go more than probably 6 months unopened past the expiration date. Opened, you need to go with the expiration date on creamy dressings, not oil and vinegar, but the creamy ones, you really don't want to mess with the expiration dates on those. The same with mayonnaise. Things like your fats, they can go a few months, 6 months, 9 months past the expiration dates before they start to spoil and get rancid. But guys, expiration dates are actually a best buy date and not spoiled date. Guys, please go watch this video next. Visit us at livingonadime.com. We will see you guys next time.